Товарищи, русский должен знать, что он имеет против себя решительного врага. И эти люди имеют наглость призывать к уничтожению великой русской нации.
Picture this. In 1941, if the German soldiers had attacked the Soviet Union, they would have expected to fight the Soviet army, which wasn't ready for war. But what if, instead, they found themselves up against an army of creatures that were half human, half ape, all armed with rifles and machine guns? This wild idea might have become real if Stalin had succeeded in his unusual plan. The Red Army. In the middle of the 1920s, Stalin had a plan to make a super-strong army by mixing humans with apes. He wanted these new soldiers to be tough, not feel pain, and not care much about what they ate. This was according to a report in the Scotsman newspaper on December 20th, 2005. The report claimed that Stalin ordered Russia's top animal breeding scientist, Ilya Ivanov, to use his skills to produce a super warrior. Stalin is said to have told Ivanov, "I want a new invincible human being, insensitive to pain, resistant and indifferent about the quality of food they eat." He gave lots of money to Ilya Ivanov. Ivanov had already done experiments where he mixed different animals together, like zebras and donkeys to make a Z-dunk, or zonkey, or rats and mice to make rice. He even made a mix of a bison and a cow called a zubron. And though it's not written in the records, he probably mixed a tiger and a lion to make a liger. These experiments were happening during a time called the Roaring Twenties, when people were doing lots of crazy things. So, it wasn't surprising that Stalin wanted to try something like mixing humans and apes. He thought it would prove a scientific idea called Darwinian evolution. Darwin suggested that humans and apes are related, so Stalin thought breeding them together might work. If it failed, it wouldn't disprove Darwin's theory because maybe humans and apes are just too different. The experiment had little downside because even if it didn't work, it wouldn't go against Darwinism. The upside, as Ivanov saw it, was that if they did succeed, it would challenge religion and creationism, which the Soviets and many scientists wanted to do. The important Bolshevik leaders supporting Ivanov were intellectuals who believed in using science to create a perfect socialist society. While politicians could change laws and industries, scientists were trusted with transforming people. One method they considered was positive eugenics, using artificial insemination to spread desirable traits quickly. Nora, the Soviet superworker,
Now, Mr. Strong.
the Soviet leaders wanted to create a new type of worker who would live and work together without being greedy or competitive, and without wanting to own things. They wanted someone very strong and not too smart to do hard industrial work in the newly Soviet-controlled areas. In 1926, Ilya Ivanov went to French West Africa to do experiments. Along the way, he stopped in Paris, where the Pasteur Institute helped him with some strange experiments. Sergei Voronov, another scientist, tried putting slices of ape testes into rich, old men to make them stronger. That summer, Ivanov and his team grabbed headlines by doing a daring experiment. They put a woman's ovary into a chimp named Nora and then fertilized it with human sperm. Everyone was curious about the outcome. People wondered if it was even possible to mix apes and humans. Did humans really have such close ties to apes? What would the outcome be? And what were the Soviets trying to achieve? In November, Ivanov went back to Guinea, caught some chimps, and after some trouble managed to inseminate 3 of them. But he had another idea, to inseminate women with chimp sperm. Since no local woman agreed, he planned to do it during a medical checkup. Challenges. Despite knowing that local women wouldn't agree, Ivanov planned to inseminate them with chimp sperm under the guise of a medical checkup. But the French governor stopped him, concerned about the moral implications. Ivanov, however, didn't see any ethical issues and complained to his Kremlin sponsors about the primitive fears of the locals and the bourgeois prejudices of the French. Back in the Soviet Union, Ivanov set up a nursery for 20 chimps in the subtropical Soviet Republic of Abkhazia. With Stalin's backing, he searched for Soviet women to volunteer for the experiments. Surprisingly, 5 women did. However, Ivanov faced another setback when his only adult male orangutan, Tarzan, died before he could be used in the process. Even if Tarzan had survived, orangutans aren't as genetically similar to humans as chimps, so it likely wouldn't have worked anyway. After the orangutan's death, Ivanov searched for a replacement and informed the women who were lined up for Tarzan's sperm. However, Ivanov's failure brought him embarrassment and frustration. One issue was the difference in chromosome numbers between humans, 46, and apes, 48, making it difficult for the chromosomes to match up properly during reproduction. Additionally, there are millions of genetic differences between humans and chimpanzees, posing another challenge. For reasons unknown, Ivanov faced disgrace and lost credibility. More chimps arrived in 1930, but Ivanov became a target in the widespread purge of scientists and was sent to exile in Kazakhstan. Although he was released the following year, he passed away soon after. The institute where Ivanov worked acknowledges the experiments but denies any plan to create a new human-Z hybrid race. Interestingly, the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Germany, now renamed the Max Planck Society, was also conducting similar human hybrid experiments during the same period. Like Ivanov, their aim was to support Darwin's theory by showing the connection between apes and humans. The hybrid human. Throughout his career, Ivanov strongly advocated the idea that humans evolved from the chimpanzee lineage, which was quite controversial. The research also led Wenner to propose the idea of creating a hybrid of human and ape by inseminating a female chimpanzee with sperm from a black African, preferably a pygmy. If these experiments had succeeded, both the Germans and the Soviets might have used ape-human hybrids as super soldiers on the front lines, while humans served as slaves in war factories. However, since the experiments failed, the leftover monkeys were sent into space, as they needed intelligent creatures for space duties. Looking back, it's absurd that both the Soviets and Germans, aiming to create superior races, tried to achieve this by breeding what they considered inferior humans and apes together. It defies logic that two inferiors could produce a superior being. This episode of history makes no sense, even by their own standards. So what's the lesson here? Perhaps it's that history often repeats itself because we fail to learn from it. Let's hope we can break this cycle in the future. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comment sections, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos.